Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining day 2 of the Global Summit on local leadership. My name is Claire Atwine. I work with Community Empowerment for Rural Development, CEFORD, based in Uganda, and I'm glad to have you. For those of us who were present since yesterday and today, we appreciate your commitment to this summit, and thank you for joining us till we are almost to the closing. This is day 2, and for this particular session, this is a session under the sub-theme, Women Leadership in Humanitarian Action. I'm going to take us through the session flow of how we are going to be participating. I hope all of us can hear me, of how this session is going to flow. As I'm speaking now, please start and introduce yourself in the chat. Put your organization, your name, and then your organization and the country, as well as your email address. We would like to get in touch with you after the summit and probably send you our reports or any other materials that we think are really relevant and may be beneficial to you and your organization. This session is aimed at sharing lessons of the journey of African women and youth action for development, AWYAD, from how they were a small local organization to now a big national organization focused on women's rights and humanitarian response. During their sharing, they will be sharing, of course, their best practices and also some of the barriers they have overcome to be able to grow as such a big organization. Of course, we know that as a local organization, there are so many challenges we face, and to make it through and become one of the most outstanding organizations cannot be easy. So we look forward to hearing some of their lessons and the best that they have been able to achieve throughout the years. And after that, after their session, after hearing the presentation, we will also be hearing, we'll also be able to weigh in and provide insights on how we as a collective can be able to improve the humanitarian sector to be more sustainable and just. Of course, after sharing their successes and challenges, we should be able maybe to give a tip or one or two on some of our experiences as well, maybe in form of a question or on what they would have presented. And also, maybe they could have some questions for us as the participants, because it's a matter of learning from each other. So we should be able to share also our lessons. Now, allow me introduce our speakers. Our main speakers, we have 2 speakers from AWYAD, like I mentioned. We have our first speaker will be Wanula Judith Claire, the head of programs at AWYAD. Claire is a public health specialist with over 10 years experience in research and evaluation, emergency planning and response management, strategic planning and management. She has specialized training in gender and protection. And Claire will also be supported by Mubbalya Crespo, the partnership and advocacy coordinator at AWYAD, who has over 10 years experience in development and influencing work and over 5 years experience in humanitarian response. He's also passionate about partnership rebuilding, resource mobilization, advocacy, and influencing. I think we feel very glad to have these 2 speakers from AWYAD, and I hope that we shall enjoy the presentation as well. After their presentation, we shall have a video also from AWYAD, and then after the video, we shall have a Q&A, our first Q&A based on their presentation, and then it will be followed by the video. My apologies there. And then we shall have another second round of the Q&A. Now this time AWYAD will be sourcing from us on tips on how to even better their organization. And right after that, we shall also be able to partake in the key takeaways that we have got from this session. So I'm requesting all of us to pay attention, but also be able to take something maybe from this session. And from that, we shall have the closing, of course, from our speakers, and that will be all. Our entire session is expected to take 1 hour, and I think we are ready to begin. In case of any questions, please raise your hand. If you can see right on your screen, it should be where you can give on reactions. You can raise your hand and you'll be able to unmute yourself and speak. You can also put any other concerns within the chat and we should be able to respond. I wish us the best in this session and I look forward to all the discussions. Allow me now invite our first speaker, Claire Wanula. Claire Wanula, you're welcome. And right after your presentation, you can invite Crespo. You both have 15 minutes to be able to share what you have for us. Thank you. Claire, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much, Claire. And thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. And thank you for joining us. My name is Claire Wanula, and I'm the head of programs. I'm the head of programs of AWYAD. Okay, thank you. So the African Women and Youth Action for Development is a women-led and women's rights non-government organization. We are going to share with you our journey, how we grew from a local CBO to a national organization in Uganda. And briefly about us, in AWYAD, we actually do implement, we work in 2 areas mostly. We do mostly empowerment and influencing. And the empowerment, we do gender and protection empowerment. We do education and skilling. We are also in livelihoods. We also do empowerment in WASH and maternal and child health. All our areas of programming, we do target the youth, the women and the children mostly. Then we also do carry out advocacy and influencing, also targeting advocacy for women's rights, advocating for refugee rights, rights to education, and children's rights. And the major thing we do advocate for is localization, as we are known as the champions for localization because of our mentor, the late Executive Director, Rita Nancy Reko. So that's briefly about us. Maybe we can now go to the first slide. There we are. So thank you. Like I briefly said, we're a national non-government organization, and AWYAD was formed in 2010 and we're registered by the NGO board. We're a women-led and women's rights organization who are working in development and humanitarian organization. We have a functional 5-member board, which consists of mostly women. And our core values, we believe in mutual respect, equity and justice, honesty and transparency, service above self, and inclusion and diversity. And we do apply all this in our programming. Next slide. And our vision is to see a society where all women, youth, and children are free from all forms of inequality and violence and at the forefront of development. And our major mission is to see that we do empower vulnerable women, youth, and children to rise up against inequality and actively participate in social economic transformation of their communities. And as you can see, these are children in one of the areas where we do our implementation from. We make sure that we reach out to them. In our inclusion programming, we make sure that we target mostly girls because girls are not prioritized for education. And like some of these vulnerable girls, you can see there, we're giving them scholastic materials so that they can be able to attend school. And then we work in the communities with different diverse groups like the cultural leaders and these women groups. This is a picture of a women on fora group in Palabe, whom we had finished skilling, and they also do participate in MDD. Next slide. Our journey, as we said, We established in 2010 as a community-based organization in Wakiso district, which was formerly Kampala. And in between 2011 to 2015, AWYAD campaigned for the women's land rights, which was spearheaded by our late executive director. And this campaign took place in Lamu refugee settlement, which propelled AWYAD nationally and also on the global space. And in 2016, we were able to register as a national NGO. And from there, we were able to expand to Lamu and Atwine districts from the settlement. Next slide. In 2017, after lobbying, before 2017, we did lobby for the establishment of Palabek refugee settlement. And in 2017, we were able to start an emergency response to the refugee reflux in Lamu district. Lamu district usually receive refugees from Southern Sudan. And we started with $8,000 US, and later on it grew to $35,000 US from Oxfam. And in the process, we were able to document and amplify the voices of the local leaders because they were the link between us and the community, and they were able to tell us what they needed to be done, how they needed us to help them. Next slide. We were able, in 2018, we were able to attract more funding and more partners, like Trocare, Lutheran World Relief, ECHO, and DGD. And in the same year, we were able to expand our operations in the Chaka refugee settlement. Chaka is in southwestern Uganda in Chegegwa district. We also started a localization campaign, and in this time, we involved the local governments. Before we had started a campaign and we were working with NGOs and other local actors, but this time we're able to involve the local governments. And it is through that we're able to earn great recognition for the work that we are doing in championing this cause. Next slide. In 2019, we expanded our scope of work with funding from Education Cannot Wait. And it is with that funding that we lobbied for the establishment of the first community school in Palabek refugee settlement, which is called Progressive Primary School. We had dialogues and meetings with members of the community, and a family donated for us land, where we were able to establish and construct the first community school in Palabek. In 2020, we expanded to Rwanda refugee settlement, which is also in Southwest. That is in Kamwenge district with funding from the World Food Program, where we're dealing with mostly general food assistance and also looking at protection. It is in that same year when our late executive director was recognized by the UNOCHA as a humanitarian leader and hero of change because of championing the women's rights and refugee rights. And it is in that same year that she was elected as the chairperson for Charter for Change. Next slide. Still, we were nominated to join the Grand Bargain Workstream on localization and the Interagency Standing Committee Results Group on collective advocacy. It is also in that same year that we were able to organize a high-level dialogue leading to the National Refugee Rights, a national dialogue on the Refugee Rights Symposium, which led to the government to start reviewing the Refugee Act. And before, we were working in partnership under the ECW funding, but because of the work, we had grown by that time. So Education Cannot Wait decided that we have developed enough capacity to be able to receive direct funding, and it's that year that we're able to receive direct funding to carry out education response and mental health and psychosocial support in southwestern and also in northern Uganda, in Palabek. And you can see some of the beneficiaries standing there. Those are girls whom we support. This is the community school I was telling you about, which was established. We're supporting them with menstrual hygiene items. Those are usually reusable menstrual pads. We also give them soap. We also give them comb, just basic things to maintain their hygiene, and some knickers. Next slide. In 2021, we expanded to West Nile in Palorinia Refugee Settlement, where we had received funding with the European Union. And it is unfortunate in that same year, during the COVID outbreak, that our executive director, Rita Nansereko, unfortunately succumbed to COVID in that year. And it was a dark moment for AWYAD, not only AWYAD, but our partners, because this was our localization champion, and she was spearheading refugee rights and everything. And at that time, we used to receive calls from partners and other agencies saying that, how are you guys going to manage? But we had a transition plan. Our board of directors together with the remaining staff of AWYAD made sure that work went on. And with that time, we ended up building trust of our partners, and they realized that we actually have capacity. Whether we still had Rita or not, she had built our capacity, and her legacy will still live on in AWYAD. And it is in that same year that we also got more funding from Chance for Childhood to the Vito Foundation, where we started a new program in Chaka Refugee Settlement, targeting those children. It's more of an inclusion program. We identify children with disabilities, and we connect them to other partners to get assistive devices. And we also give them scholastic materials so that they can attend school. So this is in Southwestern, in Chaka. Next slide. And it is in this same year, in 2022, that we're able to launch the West Humanitarian Platform, where AWYAD is actually sitting as the chair. And we're also able to launch 3 different initiatives, which my colleague will talk about later on, and to join the country level national referencing on the grand bargain. Next slide. As you can see, our trajectory, like I explained in the previous slide, we have grown from 2017 from a funding of $3,000 until we have reached a funding of $126,000. This has been steady growth. It has not been easy, but we believe with the work that we have been doing in the community, we're able to get recognition, we're able to form partnerships with other partners. And most of our work, which we do with community structures, even though you go to the community right now, you'll get our structures whom we have worked with over the years. There's sustainability of what we do in the communities because of these structures, and we are also down to work with most of the community leaders. So it may look like it was a smooth growth. We had some challenges along the way, but because of the trust and confidence that our partners had with us, that is why we are able to reach this level. Next slide. And with the experience that we have had so far, we do project that in the next 5 years, we should be able to reach that funding level of $200,000, given our innovations and our hard work ethics and the work that we do in the community. And in the line of our work, we have realized that one of the challenges that we have realized is in most of the programming, we do target the youth, we target the women, we target the children, but most of the men feel left out in most of our targeting and in our programming. And that is not a problem for AWYAD only. It is a complaint that is being raised out towards all partners. So in our programming, we have decided to make sure that we have male champions, and that is not only in the community, but also in AWYAD as an organization. We are a women-led organization, but you realize that in order to champion the cause of women, you cannot work alone without a man. That is why in our management, we have men like my colleague Crespo, who is coming next to me. And right now, and we also have our executive director, Mr. Stephen Wanula. They are men, but they're actually feminists, and they are championing the cause of women all over. So thank you so much for listening. I invite my colleague, Crespo Mubbalya, to take us through. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire, and Claire, the moderator, and everyone who is listening in. And it's always difficult to speak when people have heard and listened to a beautiful voice. I will just try to make my voice as beautiful, but not as beautiful as the two ladies who are moderating and the presenter. I'm just going to go through the, as Claire did say, I was already introduced as Crespo Mubbalya, and as it was already said by my colleague, one of the things that has driven us is that we don't wait for resources to start a response. All the expansion places we have gone to, we have started without money. That has been our principle. We have not expanded because we got funding. We expanded because we saw the need and we did start response. The money found us going. But that's something that that's something that I would urge all of us to consider or to think about. Kindly, next slide. The next slide, please present the next slide. I'm just going to be talking about some of the lessons that AWYAD has taken serious about and has helped us to grow. Continue sharing the slides, please. And the first, yes.
Shan, please continue sharing the slides where Claire stopped.
Continue sharing the slides. But I will continue to talk about the lessons that AWYAD has been gone through. One of is that don't wait for resources to start a response. The funds will find you there. The people who will see how you are working will find you there, and they will give you the support. And the other one is that as local organizations, we also need to struggle so much to make sure that our work is visible. And that's the only thing that will attract other funding. If your work is not visible, then no one will know that you have done thousands of things. So that's one of the lessons. The other lesson that we have taken note of, and we appreciate that the advocacy tool that is embedded in visibility is very big and cannot be ignored. Of course, the other one is that you must handle the person marriage very seriously. The previous, all donors, all the partners that you want to work with, always ask for a recommendation from your previous donor or partner. So we consider and we respect all the partners we work with, and that's why we have earned the confidence of them giving us a recommendation every time it is required. And not only from the partners that give us resources, but even government. Whenever we ask, we need recommendation from government, not and from the district to the national level. When we ask OPM to give us recommendation, they've always given. Just so recently, they gave us recommendation when we are working on the UN call. So that shows that we are contributing and contributing possibly. Please, next slide. And the next slide, I'm just going to share a little bit of the challenges. I don't know whether members are seeing the slide. I'm just going to share a little bit of the challenges that any local organization like AWYAD has gone through, and some of them we continue to go through. The biggest challenge that we did find at the start of our work in Palabek in terms of humanitarian work is that we did not have experience. Even when you see us very big bragging about having experience, right now having a cashless financial system, we did not have that at that time. Quick way of deciding to make a procurement, all those ones were really difficult for us. So we did not know how to operate in a humanitarian context. All we did was a little bit of development, but that's thanks to the support of our partners. Yes.
Excuse me,
Yes,
Crespo. Shan, if you're in this meeting, please share the slides. I think Shan may not be in the meeting anymore. Let me just. Oh, okay.
Is sharing.
Great. Yeah, they have started sharing. It's okay then.
Yeah. Please put it in a slide form. Put it in a slide form, please. Yes. Yeah, I was talking. I talked about the limited experience by that time, but also we have, of course, we do not know how to operate in a humanitarian environment. We all know it's very different from the development environment. It's very political and difficult to operate in. Of course, at that time we recruited the staff, we trained them, but still we had the staff turnover. So some staff left because then when they became good, they were taken over by some other organizations that had better resources than us. Of course, that we have solved it now. AWYAD is one of the local organizations here in Uganda that pay well our staff as a way of managing that staff turnover process. So we pay well our staff. And of course, the other one was a negative stereotype about what others think about local organizations. We are not spared also. People thinking that local organizations don't have capacity, they are corrupt, they cannot implement. So all that came to us, but then of course we have overcome that because we have built the confidence and the trust in the people we work with. The other one was, of course, limited access to funding information. By the time you get the call, it's maybe 2 days or an hour to the end time. So that became a challenge, and it's still a challenge. Of course, some calls, even when you get them on time, you cannot respond to them because they are telling you to pre-finance. Local organizations like AWYAD, we don't have that resource base to pre-finance some of the projects, so we can only operate within our means, and that really affects us and continue to affect us. Of course, we all know that COVID came and affected everyone. And for us, it was not easy because our staff did not leave the field. They had to continue serving, but still the demand was overwhelming because as other people were left to work from home, our staff could not work from home because then the demand was so much. And since we live in the same community, you cannot stay home. Of course, the other challenge was as the demand between the refugees and the host community. There's a lot of demand from the host community as well, vis-a-vis the refugees, and we know we serve both, and others could be even more vulnerable than others. So balancing of that is quite a little bit tricky, and we do a lot of work on peaceful coexistence. That requires a lot of effort, and yet little resources are being given to that sector. Perhaps that needs to change. Of course, the other one is that you can have other partners that are not really that will not really help you to grow. Others will maybe want to bring you down. That is, of course, AWYAD was not spared in that area also. But we appreciate some of the partners that we have worked with. I appreciate Street Child. I have seen someone, I think I've seen Victoria on this attending. Thank you very much, Street Child. Thank you very much, Oxfam. Thank you very much, ECW, Save the Children. Some of those ones have really worked well with AWYAD and they have supported us to grow and reach where we are. So, but that the issue of quality of partnership is still a key issue that we all need to talk about every day as we interact. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yes, why did we even succeed as AWYAD? One is that we do a lot of listening and we are down to earth. We don't put ourselves up there and remain there. We remain on ground. That photo is just a symbol. And we do the right targeting. We target people who are in need. When you look at those children who are in need, the person with disability, the girls who need to be supported to stay in school, and also we have strengthened our work with the local structures, because we cannot facilitate and have a big team, very big team. So what we do, we are riding on the capacity of the local structures who have really helped us. But of course, I already explained that we have earned a lot of confidence, and we have received very many recommendations. The other thing that we innovate. when it was difficult for us to reach out to everyone during COVID, we innovated. We started having the border talk. They move around the communities and give information, while other staff follow on to get the feedback from the community. And the other one is that we empower the community to speak for themselves. We do a little speaking for them, so we empower the women and everyone to speak for themselves. Of course, the other one is that we have created a smile that, if like that girl who is from Palabek's refugee settlement, even in that situation where she's in, she has a reason to smile because of the counseling, because of the services she has received from AWYAD. Next slide, please. Next slide.
Sean, please, next slide.
Please. Of course, the other one that has helped us to stand out is our campaign on localization agenda. We have championed the campaign on localization agenda, and we continue to do it to make sure, because we want to make sure that local actors are at the position of the forefront of responding to humanitarian needs. Because the other one is that we do a lot of networking, and then we also understand the dynamics of the community. The person you see in the Cape is a local leader in one of the structures, in one of the areas we work. So we understand the structure, the structure in the community, and we work with them. That has helped us not to have more acceptability of what we do and our programs. And the other one is that we work closely with government. If you ask government about our work, they know what we do. Of course, there's no strong organization without strong leadership. The lady you see down there, she's our board chairperson, and very strong and very informed. She has helped us she has always guided us to grow and make sure that we achieve our targets. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Rosa, next slide.
Okay, like my colleague did talk about, we launched different, just recently, on 23rd, we had a memorial lecture for our late ED, and we did, it was graced by a minister Minister for ICT and Information here in Uganda. And we launched these three things to make, not only to make the legacy of Rita remain, but also to continue impacting in different forms. So there was a school that was renamed against her name, that's Rita Nasereko Progressive School. And then we had a launch of initiative on empowering local women leaders. So, and then the other one is that we had a launch of the Rita Nasereko Girl Education Fund. That one is to see that more girls remain in school, but also want to build strong girls who then we can see written them. Those who can speak on behalf of other girls, those who will speak on behalf of other women. So, and I would call upon all of us who are attending here to come together with AWYAD and contribute to some of these initiatives. More so that one of the Rita Nasereko Education Girl Education Fund is really interesting for us to contribute to. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Clear, next slide. Yes, thank you very much. Now, these are some of the partners we are working with. I will not go through all of them. Others we are cultivating to start working with them. But as you go down there, you can also, that plus sign is not for any other partner, but it's for you to add your label, your logo, perhaps even your picture. So whoever, for us, we appreciate whoever wants to support the vulnerable people, the people in need. So that downer part is for us to add ourselves there, individually or at organizational level. We always welcome members, organizations, private, government, and any other person who is out there who is looking to make a change, just like AWYAD intends to do every day. So next slide. And our next slide is just looking at we are just sharing our contacts. And this slide will be shared with you, whoever is attending, I presuppose. So I don't really have much to say now, rather than to say thank you for listening to me. And if there is any question, any contribution, anyone who is saying, okay, AWYAD, please come, we join together, hands and work together, please, you are welcome. Thank you very much.
Oh, wow. Crespo and Claire, thank you so much for your presentation. This has been indeed a journey for AWYAD. Indeed, for those who are joining us, please introduce yourself in the chat and any other issues that you would like to raise. Also from those who started from when maybe the presentation were already going on, you can put any concerns in the chat and we should be able to respond to you. My apologies, we had our support team in the back had some challenges. So that's why I was saying maybe the slides not coming or so our apologies on that. But I hope that we've been able to listen into the presentation and also how AWYAD has grown from just being small to now a big organization within a short time. I've enjoyed it and I hope you did as well. I think we've been able to take on some of the good lessons that the learnings that have taken them so far. You've all seen their work in education, community mobilization, you've seen their work in localization, you've seen their work in their all round, and we couldn't be grateful more for this kind of learning. So now we are going to go on with our next session, and that will be the Q&A. Crespo and Claire, I'm sure you're ready to receive these questions. And as we prepare, please, if you have any questions for Claire and Crespo, please do raise your hand and I'll pick you up to speak. And as we prepare for the rest to speak as well, there's already a question in the chat from Saskia. And Saskia is asking, Crespo, I would love to learn from your team. I would love to learn from your experience on how AWYAD built her experience and capacity in humanitarian work, and what really contributed to that journey the most. What roles did you take early on, and how did you expand your capacity as a humanitarian actor? What was most useful in that process? That is already a question from Saskia. Please, if you would like to speak, please raise your hand and I'll pick you up and you'll be able to speak as well. Crespo, would you like Claire and Crespo, would you like to respond to that as we get more questions?
I could take that one. I could take that one. I think what helped us is that we accepted that we didn't know. We accepted that we didn't know the sector. So we welcomed all the trainings, and thanks to Oxfam that did one of the first converters of localization. They did give us a lot of trainings from different angles. We did not know things to do with humanitarian principles, humanitarian standards, and those we did accept to be trained about. But also we had an opportunity to learn while we were doing. I think that was very great. Learning while doing. It was very critical because just training people in class was not enough, but we accepted to learn while we are working, and that has transformed us to date. What was most useful in this is that you always need someone to mentor you. You always need someone to hold on your hand. You always need someone who knows the route better. I think that was the most useful thing. Otherwise, if you just go without knowing where you are going, the roads ahead, you might end up sliding over in the next corner. Claire?
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, Claire, the moderator.
Okay, sorry about that. What I wanted to add on to what Crespo has said, thank you so much, Crespo. Apart from the capacity building that we had from our partners, The most vital thing when you're working in a humanitarian setting is to have support of the community structures. The support of the community structures has really helped us to grow. Because even right now, when you go to some of these refugee settlements where we work, some of these community leaders or community structures will say that I only want to work with AWYAD because we have built trust in them. We have involved them in decision making. We have in assessments and everything. We do not just go, we also try to find out their opinion and approaches, how best things can be done. And it's because of that that we have not only been able to grow, but also most of our approaches have been more sustainable in the community because we have been working with them. Thank you.
Claire Ben has hands up.
Thank you so much, Achema, Claire rather. Achema Ben, your hand is up. Please go ahead, unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah. Yes, good afternoon from Uganda. My name is Ben. I appreciate the good presentation of AWYAD. When they presented about the principles of moving forward as a local organization, one of the critical things they enumerated was responding without funding or not waiting for someone to give you funding to initiate a program or an activity. Just simply like a partner who is trying to venture in humanitarian response and involvement. I will wish to seek for guidance from AWYAD to enumerate for me some of the critical strategies that partners like who are starting can use to respond without funding from donors. Thank you.
We shall take, after Ben, we shall take another question, and maybe Claire and Crespo, you respond at once. We have someone, Wanula, please go ahead and submit.
I am Munilal from Nepal. And thanks for your great presentation. It was quite meaningful and carries the more message in your presentation. I just want to know the in the challenges regarding the politician. You just mentioned the political. I'm forgetting that exact words. Then how are you tackling or resolving that issues to make our program better?
Okay, thank you, Manilao. Any other? I don't see any other hands up. I hope Crespo and Claire, you've been able to get those questions, and perhaps before you answer the other questions, Saskia still has a follow-up question, and maybe you could answer that, and then we go to the next questions. She's still saying in the chat, which early roles did AWYAD take on? What particular role and expertise did you bring in as AWYAD, as a women rights organization? I mean, you didn't have experience at the time. So what role did you, or what kind of expertise did you bring to the table to be able to play a part in humanitarian response that gave you the opportunity for also other partners to look at you and say, we want to work with AWYAD, or we want to mentor them? So yeah, is that clear?
Oh. Yeah, I think it's clear. Maybe I can answer that. At the start of our work, we did a lot of, we at least we had capacity in terms of engagement, community engagement, and advocacy. That was our strengths by then. But we also had started our work on under protection. So we had at least some strength. We did not start from zero. We had some strengths under protection, and that was our entry point. These other projects have just come, other sectors have just been building on, but we started with protection. We started with only one. Perhaps that's one of the principles that we need to consider, that don't overspread and then get lost. Concentrate somewhere and one sector, perhaps, and be strong, and then other sectors can come and follow you. If you want to start from everywhere, your wash, your livelihood, it becomes difficult. But we stood out strong under protection and community engagements, because we all know that Palabek refugee settlement is sitting on a community land, and that the process of acquiring that land, we facilitated the discussion, the local government discussing with the chiefs, until when they had to sign, government had to sign an MOU with the local communities to give the land. So that was one of our strengths, and that strength still lives, because we have continued to increase that strength. And perhaps that's why we are doing a lot of peaceful coexistence of refugees and host community activities. And sometimes, by the way, we are always called upon to do community dialoguing onto the social, because that's very critical now in Uganda. The resources are scarce, including, by the way, including grass. People sharing grass in some of the refugee host communities is a big issue that requires dialogue, and AWYAD has been engaging in that, including firewood. So we use that protection and gender lens in all our programming, and that has helped us to even move to other sectors that are not protection, but we take there the protection and the gender lens. Maybe Claire will add on top on that. Claire, the AWYAD.
Thank you so much, Crespo. You said most of it. It was majorly advocacy, as you say, and just before we advocated for that is the establishment of the refugee settlement. There was also a national campaign on women land rights in northern Uganda, which actually propelled AWYAD into the limelight. In Uganda, most cultures in Uganda, women are not allowed to own land. Even when your father dies, he can just end up distributing his land to his male sons, and women do not have the right. Or even when your husband dies, you do not have the right to inherit any land. So that was the major campaign. We started off with that campaign, and it was a national campaign. AWYAD was in the news everywhere advocating for this. And it is because of our involvement that actually government started getting involved and started reviewing some of these practices in order to advocate for women to have land. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, both Claire and Crespo. Yes, before you go into that, I think Monihal and Achema Ben had asked questions on some of the, for example, from Achema, yes, on the key strategies that you would give to a starting off organization. And then also from Nilao, how did you manage to maneuver in the political environment and all? So maybe we can get a response to those, and then, yeah, thank you.
Just maybe in summary is that I've already answered some of the things that you need to humble yourself. And for the strategy of starting a response when you don't have funds, you can have very small fund, maybe just having one staff in an area, and then that staff starts working, and that work he'll be as he works, you make sure that the visibility is there. That's the strategy. You make sure that you have visibility in the area. So when they ask someone which partners are responding in this protection area, they will also, and make sure you attend the sector meetings and also the coordination meetings, because those platforms will always give you an opportunity to sell your organization. That's basically how just in a small business, that's what I can tell someone who wants to engage into humanitarian sector. That the meetings, every meeting at a settlement level, for example, is critically important as having a donor meeting. Because then in humanitarian sector, you have recommendations on the actors that are responding in each area. if you are always, the reports are always coming, for example, to Kampala, and you are not there, so when will they recognize that you are responding? So that's basically what, and then how did we manage to maneuver through the political environment? Of course, we have humbled ourselves and we understand our limits as a local organization. Yes, we are aggressive as the AWYAD, but we also know their limits. And that has helped us to not to go overboard, because we wouldn't want to cross lines with actors, more so those ones that are in charge. But also presenting facts, making sure that when you speak, you're not just rumor-mongering. You speak facts and present the real issues that touch the community. Once you do that, people will listen, will always give you listening, will always listen to you, and by so doing, you increase your trust in the people that you are working with. Clear the moderator.
Thank you very much, Crespo. And we shall just take one more from Somali Women Uganda. And then now we can go into the next session because we are actually time bad. So before we head out into the closing session, and just to make just a small announcement, after here, we shall be heading after this session, we shall be going into the closing session, and they have been able to post a link for the closing session here. So right after here, please don't go away. Please join us for the closing session as well. So from Somali Women Uganda, please go ahead. We take one more question. Crespo and Claire, you respond, and then now we have the video played. Thank you.
Thank you, Crespo Malabo, and your partner. I'm Siham from Somali Women Union Uganda. My question is not that much, but is there any current project that you are running for refugees in both settlement and urban, please?
Thank you very much. We are working in the Chaka. We are responding in the Palabek. We are responding in the Obwang, that is Moyo, and then Ramanja. For the urban refugees, we don't have a running project, but we are praying that if we get one, we shall really come to that. Perhaps we can exchange contacts and have a conversation of how best we can work together to social mobilize for the urban refugees. I would be happy for us to sit together and do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Crespo. And allow me now, if you have any other more questions, please put them in the chat and we shall be able to respond. But for now, please, Shan, can we have the video? Thank you. Please enjoy the video.
For every little girl in the world, our mothers of tomorrow, if we don't guide them, then who will? It brings such deep sorrow to see a child raise another. Educate give the girls a voice to speak up. Let us protect them, educate them, let us love them, be the best role model that we can be. Yeah. Tuwakume, tuwagale, be the best role model that we can be. Never fail, never fail, never fail, never fail. African women and youth action development. Western way to
Wow, what a wonderful video. This video always gets me goosebumps. I just love it. I hope all of us have been able to enjoy this video. It's been educative. It's literally just calling us, all of us, all stakeholders, women, children, the police, the government, every stakeholder out there to protect and love the girl child from all forms of abuse. And we are here for this one. Thank you so much. And any comments, please continue putting in the chat. And now we are going into one next session. I'm sure even AWYAD that has now become a national NGO should be having questions for us. So we shall just take maybe 1 or 2 questions from AWYAD, if Crespo and Claire have, to ask the participants, maybe if we have any tips we want to share with them. And then right after that, we shall go into our closing. And yeah, Crespo and Claire, do you have any questions for
Yes.
for us, the participants? Yes, please go ahead, Crespo.
Yes, I basically have one question. Is that for all members who are here, how best can you, one, help AWYAD to maintain its standards and also remain a strong organization? And how best can we reach you to share this opportunity of responding to the people in need, more so in Uganda, the refugees and also the host community, where a country where we even have people dying of hunger. And basically, I think that's my question.
Okay, thank you, Crespo. Claire, do you have any question for us, the participants? Please, if you would like to respond to Crespo, please raise your hand and I'll pick you. He's asking, how can they? Please, Claire, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Claire. My question was to the fellow local actors. I think some of the challenges that we have shared, I think most of them have also encountered them. And the other challenge, the major challenge that we have is proving ourselves when it comes in, when you're applying for a project, let me say, you always find that the international partner always gets a bigger budget than actually the local partner. Yet over the years, you find the local actors may have already built their capacity, but still there isn't enough trust when it comes to the finance fee. I don't know if many of you have experienced it, and how have you gone past this problem to build your resource base? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Claire. And Crespo has raised a question. Please, would someone like to respond? He's asking, how can we help AWYAD? What strategies can they put in place to ensure they maintain their standards? And Claire is asking on the bit of funding. Would someone like to give maybe a tip or two to Crespo and Claire and to the whole entire AWYAD team? Anyone? Anyone from us, the participants, who would like to share from their questions? Okay, maybe in the meantime, as we think about how to answer Claire and Crespo's question, I would like us to also think about what's some of our key takeaways from this session. I remember when Crespo was sharing, he did share a bit on some of the lessons they have learned along the way that have helped them. And one, for example, has been do not overspread. I think sometimes when we are starting, we have a habit of wanting to be everywhere. So do not overspread, start with one and then continue with over time. And then the other is advocacy. Engaging in advocacy, community engagement, knowing your limits, especially if you're in an environment that is not as friendly. So would someone like to share maybe what has been their key takeaways from this session? And maybe relating to Claire and Crespo's question as well. Please go ahead.
I think she's traveling. Yes.
Okay. Maybe if not, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Saskia is saying we may have been losing people to the closing session, and like I mentioned, please, we have put a link in the chat that is forwarding us to the closing session, and please join us for the closing session. The link is in here. See you there. For now, if we maybe Crespo and Claire, would you like to give your closing remarks here? And yeah, we call it a day.
It is not. It's not. I know people are rushing to the closing remarks.
Crespo and Claire.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, for listening, giving us this opportunity, and to organize. Thank you very much for organizing.
And Claire.
Claire, I think you can't hear me. Thank you very much for organizing. The organizers, we appreciate. And it's not that every day to get this opportunity to interact with people who have a similar mind, who care about the same things that you care about. As AWYAD, we appreciate this opportunity, and we ask that this should not end here. We should have more of such. We should have more of people coming together, more so the actors, organize ourselves, coordinate ourselves, and make sure that we claim the space that we want to. No one is going to give it to us unless we do claim for it. For those who would like to reach out to AWYAD, you can always visit our website. You can always visit us. We are going to share the presentation. So please come and we join hands and work together. I thank you and may God bless.
Thank you so much, Crespo, and thank you for the closing remarks. Mine is just on learning from each other. We are all local actors, so we should at least empower ourselves and build ourselves. Let us share the different innovations that we have that have made our work easier, and also opportunities for funding. Thank you so much, everyone.